Well, one thing I can tell you is being aggressive and being close on a deal are two totally different things, Donnie. I will say this, never rule anything out with Jim Rutherford. Canucks are, yes, still in the mix for Jake Guentzel. Checked in with his camp this morning. The price is still very high, Don. There will be no extension for this player. Look, Jim Rutherford has told, and he's done this in the past, he's told his staff, challenges them to get creative and to think outside the box. Look, they don't have the assets to do a Guentzel trade.
Don't they?
Well, after Willander, if you're not willing to give up Willander and you're not willing to give up Lekaramaki, you sure don't. And, Podkolzin was called up for 2 games, and most people think he was called up for showcasing reasons, and he got 0 points in 2 games, played 9 minutes last night, 12 minutes the other night. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. So, yes, the Canucks are being aggressive on Guentzel, but certainly not hearing anything close with Guentzel in Vancouver this morning. Being aggressive, Donnie, and closing a deal are two different things. They're not there yet. There's a lot of teams in on it. Keep an eye on Carolina. That's a team that a lot of people think. And, hey, Donnie, who was after Elias Pettersson? The Carolina. Would it surprise anybody if Carolina puts together a good package for Guentzel? So anyways, there's a lot of moving parts. Don't rule out Rutherford. Yes, he's aggressive. He always tells his staff to think outside the box, get creative. That's what they're going to have to do here. If you don't want to give up Lekaramaki and Willander, then think of another way to get it done.
Well, okay, speaking of that, this was tweeted out last night by somebody who's going to be on our show in our next segment.
Yeah.
We're talking about Chris Johnston. From The Athletic and TSN. And again, in the category of being creative, Canuck-wise, with the Canucks believed to be among those, this is Chris's tweet, among those pursuing Jake Guentzel, word is they've had discussions about potentially flipping Elias Lindholm to the Bruins as part of the machinations to make it happen. Pulled my groin with that word. Nothing concrete in place at this time. Still lots of moving parts. Now, that would be creative. What about the possibility of just a short time after acquiring Lindholm from the Flames and him being somewhat of a disappointment, so far in terms of his numbers? What about the possibility of them flipping, which we brought up earlier in this week, and you said no, there's no way they were going to do that.
I'll tell you why I said no. The Canucks did pick up the phone and call Boston to see if they had interest in Lindholm. Vancouver knew the Bruins liked him. Before the Canucks got him, Boston was trying to get him hard as well. The Canucks initiated this. It wasn't Boston. Lindholm has not been the difference maker, Donnie, offensively. He hasn't. I'm sorry. But sometimes you got to admit you made a mistake and move on.
I like that.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I like that. Don't believe trading Lindholm was on the plate last week, but things change. And again, this is where Rutherford comes in. And if it's not working here, then he thinks of other ideas. Not many people this morning are hearing that it's going to be a 3-way trade between the Canucks, Bruins, and the Penguins for Guentzel. It doesn't look like it's going to be a 3-way. Like, we'll do this here, and then with Boston, it could be separate deals if they're going to do Lindholm, and then separate if they're going to do Guentzel.
So,
early word.
But okay, we heard that. We heard whispers earlier in the week. The whispers got louder yesterday, thanks in large part to Chris, who again is going to be on our show in a little bit in the next segment, rather. Let me just say this when it comes to Jim Rutherford. And isn't it great having, and this is all due respect to anybody who preceded him, but having Jim Rutherford in charge of the Canucks along with Patrick Alvin, because you talk about the creativity and the how bold he is making moves. It makes our jobs way easier because we like activity. Not inactivity makes our jobs harder.
Tougher.
And it's great for the fans out there. Creates all sorts of conversation. But let me say this about Tanner Pearson. Pardon me. I'm jumping ahead here. Let me say this about Elias Lindholm and the possibility of them maybe giving up on him after a short period of time with their organization. Tanner Pearson, back in 2018, King sent him to Pittsburgh. Jim Rutherford engineers this deal, I believe. Back in November 18th, they traded him 3 months later to the Canucks for Eric Branson. This guy isn't working out like we thought he would. We see another asset we like better, so off he goes just 3 months later. There are other examples of this around the National Hockey League, but we're focusing on Rutherford here. So he's done something similar to that, a flip with Lindholm before. So it has precedent. It's not as outrageous as you think.
Jim is a big thinker, and I'm going to tell you something else that's playing a role here is look at Colorado, Donnie. Edmonton, Vegas, they're going after all the same guys. He doesn't want to lose out to some of these big guys going to Vegas, Edmonton, Colorado. And the other thing is the prices are extremely high right now. The other thing is he's got 2 top 6 guys, Mikheyev and Suter, who shouldn't be there. And Mikheyev is got 30, is it 32 now, Don? 32 games without a goal. A guy that hasn't scored in 32 games should not be in your top 6, Don. That's a problem. That's a problem. They got to rectify it.
Okay, now you mentioned Vasily Podkolzin a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned this. Do we have a tweet associated with this from the Canucks, Ryan? GM Patrick Allvin announcing today that Vasily Podkolzin has been assigned to Abbotsford of the American Hockey League, so he's back with the Abbotsford Canucks. Rick obviously didn't impress enough in his short time back. His return to the National Hockey League, or are they making room for maybe somebody like Phil Kessel or another move?
Yeah,
What's going on there?
That's a good question. So everybody automatically thought when the Canucks sent down Podkolzin that they were going to sign Phil Kessel. Well, I can tell you this morning when I checked in with Phil Kessel, there is no signing to report this morning. I mean, does it happen late? It's got to happen before Friday, Donnie Kessel, if he wants to play in the playoffs. So anyways, as of this morning when I checked in on Kessel, they were not close to making that decision. It's still up in the air. It's a holding pattern. Is it cap-related, trade-related? Only the Canucks know, so I was told that. The other thing I'm going to tell you, it's not Dakota Joshua related. He is not ready to return to the lineup. Dakota Joshua, as a lot of people thought, because the Canucks sent him down, they're going to bring him up. He's ready. That's not the case. It's not got anything to do with Dakota Joshua or Phil Kessel.